on YouTube, and then let's do what we need to do, okay? All right. Okay, cool. We're back. I had to refresh the YouTube page, so Tyrone, if you're still there, if you could re-ask your question. I saw that you posted it, but I couldn't see exactly what it was. And let's give everyone a couple minutes to get back up in here. Let's see who we got on the stream. Say hi, say what's up. Let me know that you're here. I want to start off with a little bit of accountability. Let me know what you guys were doing last night. Is anybody making any offers, any phone calls, telling people what you did? What's up? What's up? Good to see you. Let me know what you guys did. You had some homework assignments that you were going to do something, take some form of action. Again, be it a contract, be it a phone call, something like that. And then you're going to have some questions for me, so let me know those as well. All right, and let's get this YouTube stream back up. Let's give everyone a minute to get up in here. What's up, Ken? Good to see you again. It's Friday. Trent, where do you find the 2 contracts? I don't know which contracts you're talking about, brother. Let me know what you're looking for specifically. We can all do better. We can all do better. But one day at a time, man. Just take incremental changes, incremental steps will get you there. Contracts. Let me know which ones. I know land trust assignments, assignment and purchase. Also, what state are you looking for? Did I put anything under contract this week? Yes. Matter of fact, I got a story for you guys. I'll tell you in just a minute. Offers made but slacked on the phone calls. Okay. That's good. I just want to see that action. I want to see you guys taking action. It's most important. All right. Am I doing lease options? I'm not. That's not my thing. I've done them in the past, but again, those are things that's kind of landed in my lap, so that's not my bread and butter. Motivated sellers are hard to find. I disagree. I think what market are you in, first of all? But here's the thing: people say motivated sellers are hard to find. If motivated sellers were really that hard to find, they probably wouldn't be a pawn shop like every mile. There probably wouldn't be courthouses full of hundreds of thousands of people that get divorced every day. If you took a drive around any market with somewhat urbanized area, you're going to see homes that are literally falling apart. They have grass, they have weeds in the yard, they have holes in the roof, they have tarp. They're military families. There's hundreds of thousands. Look, 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's half of people with houses have to split that shit up. Like, I'm telling you, you got it. That's not the problem. It's just not. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So anyway, JP is back. What's going on? Sounds bomb. Thanks. Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, I'll talk about your contracts in just a minute. All right. Okay, so I said I was going to start off with a little story, and this is something that happened just this week. So basically, another way that you guys can be doing deals is simply to let everyone know what you do. A big part of this is that you want to be networking constantly, and it doesn't have to be networking in the sense that a lot of people always think, that person just shoving business cards in people's faces. It can be very casual, and it's got to be, follow up and repetitive. You might see the same people every day. You always want to be in somebody's mind that you're the person that buys houses. So, of course, people know me as that. As the guy that buys houses, and I'm also making a name for myself as the guy who gets deals, especially when I tell you guys how important it is to act with a sense of urgency and really have this speed of implementation. So I had a buyer ask me about a property, especially down here in South Florida. A lot of people circulate the same inventory, and it's very hard to sometimes know who has the contract, which is why I pretty much sell only my own things. But there are exceptions from time to time, especially if I see a property that's perfect and right for a buyer. A lot of times not something I'm going to put on my website, but I'll just make phone calls, and that's how I do a lot of deals that way. But yeah, so there was a case where that happened this week. The buyer asked me to basically get him this property. So one thing I'm going to do is move quickly. There's so many times where, a buyer will ask, or a seller, essentially is asking for a contract, and wholesalers, you see in any kind of business, realtors, a lot of professionals I work with, dude, these people take forever to get back to you. And I have this problem with students too. I'll tell them, hey, I know students putting in a deal on Monday, Thursday, I'm like, I haven't heard from so-and-so. I shoot them an email. Hey, what's up with that deal? Oh, the agent didn't call me back. Say, dude, you cannot wait. You can't wait. You got to be very much proactive. So basically, the buyer was asking for this deal. I didn't have the contract, but as soon as he asked me, I went through all of my emails, and because I have a feed on the market, and I kind of know who does what. I know who's putting on other people's deals. I can see all the deals. I can see which wholesalers have marked it up, and then I also know the reputation because I get on the phone with people. I talk to people. I'm telling you, so much of this business is rapport building, relationships, and stuff like that, right? So anyway, I speak to the wholesaler, and I basically get the contract for the buyer. Basically put myself, no marketing, no money spent, no nothing. But now I'm splitting the fee on this deal. So anyway, today the buyer comes back to me and basically says, oh, but I was working with this other wholesaler, and I don't know, some kind of bullshit excuse. But basically, the point I want to make here is, number one, when you're doing JV deals, it's very, very important for you to get everything in writing. Everything's got to be in writing. So now the JV agreement I have a contract, so that's solid. So it doesn't matter now if people kind of want to backpedal out of the deal or something like that. You got to get it in writing. So if you're taking notes today, which I hope you are, that's something that you always need to do, is get it in writing. Also, you want to focus always on your end goal. So a lot of times, whether you're dealing with a motivated seller, or I get this a lot with students when they're dealing with realtors, and the realtors can kind of be a pain in the ass. It's like, not everything is worth, getting into an argument with somebody. Sometimes realtors kind of, let's say, yell at people, or some realtors do yell at people, but sometimes they're like a little bit firm, and then they want to get to this, head-butting place. You don't want to do that. You don't need to do that. Basically, you just kind of say, okay, and just make things as smooth as possible. So, and then the other point with that is, when you're doing these contracts, right, what matters is what gets signed, right? So, as an example, right, if I recommend you guys have at least a 7-day inspection period. That's the time that you have to sell this deal. So, if a realtor is pushing you for, let's say, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, you can say to them something like verbally, or even in an email, hey, we'll probably do it in 48 hours. I'll try my best to do it in 48 hours. I'll try to get the inspection done. But, my default, we just put 7 days on there just as the default, just in case. You never know what's going to happen, but we'll try to get it done soon. When you say things like that, I'm not advocating being dishonest or anything like that, because you probably will. I mean, it's in your best interest to sell it to a buyer within 2 days, right? But what actually counts is what gets signed on the contract. So if the contract says 7 days, the realtor come back to you later and say, hey, you said you were gonna do this in 2 days. Okay, well, I said I would try, but the contract says 7 days. So likewise, if you guys are having someone else, like a realtor, write up the contract, even if they tell you, no matter what they tell you, this is why it's so important to read over your contracts in detail. And this is also why I recommend that you always control the paperwork, especially during any type of negotiations. You'd be surprised at some of the things I've seen people try to slip into my contracts, in times when I wasn't controlling the paperwork. You should. Sometimes it's kind of inevitable. But they'll even try to match the font of like the standard far bar and put little clauses in there. So you should always be controlling the paperwork, even from the frame of who's controlling the deal. And let's say if you put terms in and then the paperwork's going back and forth, it's a lot harder for them to make these kind of changes. So you always want to be, take that note. You always want to be controlling the paperwork. Do I do virtual? I do virtual in the sense that I only do in Florida, but even the stuff that's close, it's very rare. Not rare. I mean, I do see some of my inventory, but a lot of my inventory I never go to. So virtual in that sense, yes. All right, let's see. We get some comments going on here. So Trent, by the way, as far as contracts, there are generic contracts that you can use. If you go to my website, wholesalingwithmike.com, I have some of those available for free download. What I recommend for my students is to use the Board of Realtor approved contracts. That's basically what realtors use. Now, I also on my website have a blog post about this. I've talked about it before. Basically, those documents are technically copyrighted and you're not allowed to use them unless you're a licensed agent. Now, I've used them in the past, like, just use them. You can probably find them on Google. And it's not been a problem. I know other people that just use them anyway. In most cases, when you're submitting, let's say a deal through a listing agent or something like that, you're basically just saving them time anyway. But I do want you to be aware that technically that's illegal. But again, it goes back to your comfort level. I mean, bandit signs are also illegal, but people use them because they work. Now, here in Florida, we have a service called Altastar. Altastar, and that's where a non-licensed person can pay a fee. It's about $120 for the year, and then they can legally use all of those contracts and documents. I don't know if that exists in every state, but you can look and find out. That's what I use now, just so I'm in compliance with the law. But prior to doing that, I just had a copy of the contract and I was using it. But that's the best way, because if you're doing deals on the MLS, you're going to be required to use that form anyway. And remember, everything is speed. So if you send the contract in fully filled out, you're much more likely to get the deal, and you're controlling the paperwork, which we just talked about. But you're more likely to get the deal than some chump who sends in a purchase agreement that was written up by some attorney, or a generic contract or something like that. Also, if there's any type of mitigation that needs to happen, or you guys end up going to court or anything like that, it's just a lot easier to enforce if you need to file a notice or something like that. And also, the responsibilities of both parties are laid out very, very clearly, so there's no subjectivity in those contracts. So that's why I recommend using those. All right. What benefit does a seller have by using a wholesaler? Okay, this is the core concept behind wholesaling. It's basically speed. These are people who are motivated. That's what a lot of people are failing to understand. It's because you move fast. If someone, I don't know, the best example is probably the pawn shop example, man. If somebody's hard up for money and they have something that they need money fast, they're not going to be holding out, you know what I'm saying, and trying to get top dollar for whatever it is they're trying to sell. The lady who's got a $5,000 engagement ring is not going to pawn it for $1,000 if she's comfortably sitting at home. But the lady who's got a $5,000 engagement ring and hasn't paid her mortgage and is about to have her house foreclosed on, and is trying to collect money from every single source within the next week, will happily give up the engagement ring for the $1,000. You have to have some level of motivation. Now, there are two types of motivation that I talk about. The one is situational, and this is what you're going to deal with when you're talking to direct motivated sellers. And then the stuff that you're finding online, typically listed on the MLS, are typically distressed properties. So, for example, let's say someone passes away and they live in Florida, right? The kids live in California. So now this property is just sitting there deteriorating. Now these kids got to worry about maintenance. They got to worry about the taxes. If someone falls and on the property, they could be sued. And that person maybe is not attached to the equity. They're not attached to the property. They don't live in the same area. They just want to sell it. They just want a payday. They don't care. They don't even know how much it's worth, right? They just want to get paid. And then at the same time, a traditional buyer is not going to buy it because the house is dilapidated. So now you can't get a mortgage. A bank is not going to loan a mortgage on something like that where the roof is caving in. So now the only people who can buy it are cash buyers. So that's the kind of situation where you can come in as a wholesaler. And this just goes back to kind of the story I told in the beginning. As wholesalers, we can do it in a lot of different ways, but you're basically just a middleman. You just connect a seller and a buyer. It's just that you're connecting people who are motivated with investors. So hopefully that answers your question. That kind of leads me to a comment I saw on yesterday's live stream. I don't know if I should say the name, but I mean, it's public. So Sunshine Babe, look, Hello, I made a phone call. That's awesome. I'm gonna give you props for doing that first of all, because a lot of people, they just kind of watch videos and stuff like that and are in this constant state of learning, but they're not doing anything. So I'm gonna rip into you in a minute, but uh, props for making a phone call. And I can see there's some excitement. I made a phone call, 3 exclamation points. Landlord called back, another exclamation point. He rehabbed a 3-2 into a 5-3. Throughout the conversation, kept saying he wasn't in a rush to sell. That's like red flag number 1. But he said he would sell at the right price. Who wouldn't sell at the right price? Everybody would. He didn't want to give me a bottom number, but eventually felt comfortable with saying 175. Comps through the search engines came up 80 to 100. He's wanting to rent it out for $1,500 a month. Honestly, I see him sitting on this unless he's going to rent it out to Section 8. I didn't ask. I really didn't know where to go from this because I know the numbers are crazy. But I was going to just keep my eye on the property and see. This was driving for dollars. My question is, how do you negotiate with owners who have a rehab, and how do you formulate that? You don't. There's no motivation here. Like, some of you guys have like one-itis. You like really stuck on this one property. I have no idea. Like, this guy does not seem motivated at all. The numbers are not even realistic. I wouldn't even spend more than 2 minutes on that phone call. You need to move to the next one. Have an abundance mindset. There's just absolutely no way, shape, or form where this sounds like a deal. You probably wasted your time just even typing that up. You could have been probably calling someone else. But all this stuff works in volume, right? All right, so just wanted to point that one out. Question: tried to buy the Ironclad Clauses ebook. It wouldn't let me take me to the top of the screen. Yeah, that's my PDF, guys. If you scroll to the bottom and click the button, it takes you to the top to fill out the form. There's a credit card form. You have to fill it out and then press submit, and it'll. Come on, guys. All right. All right. Let's see. Where am I in Florida? I am. I'm in Palm Beach County. But I do deals all over Florida, but primarily Southeast Florida, Palm Beach, Broward, Dade, and a little bit of Port St. Lucie. All right. Is it done via quitclaim deed? No, typically a wholesaler is not done via quitclaim deed. You want a warranty deed. Yeah. All right. Tax liens. Tax liens can be a source of deals for sure. I don't do them personally. But you are correct. Oh, wow, okay. There's a whole list that I didn't see here. Okay, cool. All right. Do I have experience with ListSource? Yeah, ListSource is a great site. What I would say is when you get those lists, make sure that you don't just mail them once. So I would put in a lot of criteria into it, and then make sure that you're hitting the same list. This is important. Hit the same list every month, at least once a month for at least 6 months, because you got to hit these people at the right time, and there's no guarantee. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you get, deals from the first round or the second round of mailers. That can absolutely happen, but you gotta. This is direct mail marketing 101. You gotta touch clients, customers at least 6 times before they even acknowledge you. And then you never know what happens in the situation. Maybe the first month they're trying to take a lot of offers. Maybe the second month something happens, they get discouraged. Maybe they had a couple offers that all fell through. Maybe by the third month they lose their job. You just never know. And the chances that you're gonna be there at the right time, if you're only mailing once, is very unlikely. So you just want to, if you want to just play the luck game, you could just do it one time. But if you really want to make this predictable and not know, am I going to do a deal next month? Like, you want this to be replicatable, then you have to be consistent with all your marketing. All right. Oh, the other thing with ListSource, like I said, some of you are kind of budget sensitive, so I do want you to put in a lot of criteria. So know what you're looking for. Know what the market wants. You should be able to tell, single family houses, absentee owners within a certain price range, because you've done those exercises that are on my YouTube channel. How to find a target market. There are like 2 of those that go into detail. I show you how I do it. Again, if you're on a budget, after you get the list, break it down yourself. Take those addresses like I used to do back in the day. Copy them, put them into Zillow. Make sure they meet your criteria and they match what you're looking for. Also, another trick is on ListSource, if you put in the value of the of the property. So let's say you want things valued at, between 100,000 and 200,000. Each criteria costs a certain amount. So I think that they charge you like maybe, I don't remember the exact number. It's like 25 cents per entry, right? Which can add up very quickly. Instead, you can do the previous sold price, and that only charges you like a cent or two. And of course, if the property sold last in like 1975, yeah, those numbers can be way off. But at the same time, it still gives you can still hit that kind of target range for the most part, and it can significantly reduce the cost of your list overall. So that's another little kind of trick you might want to try. How do you choose a title company? The way I would choose a title company is all by referrals. So I would go to meetup.com, look up your local REIA, which is REIA, Real Estate Investing Association or Club, and then you should be attending those meetings, but at the very least, send a message to the head of that REIA club and just say, hey, I'm a new investor. I'm looking for, I'm going to be wholesaling. Who do you close with? And could you recommend a title company? Now, if you're doing it cold, first of all, go to Google, check out some of these reviews. That's what that's there for. But also, I would touch base with the title company and basically ask them, do they work with a lot of wholesalers? And then ask them, do they do double closings? Ask them if they do assignments. Ask them if they can recommend a good hard money lender. So that'll kind of tell you if they're investor friendly. And if you're down here in South Florida, again, I close with Independence Title on Prospect Road in Fort Lauderdale. All right. Do I do my own taxes? No, I have someone who does my taxes for me. Which you probably should just outsource. Just makes it easier. There's a lot of things like, I don't know. It's just easier to outsource and defer to people who know what they're talking about. And I actually have a great story for that in just a moment, which I'll get to in just a second, okay? All right, sorry, just looking at scrolling some of these questions. Oh, okay, yeah, to switch to desktop view. Okay, cool. All right, so you know how to find motivated sellers. Good. Anyone else looking to find motivated sellers, check out www.needmotivatedsellers.com. You can download my free ebook. The first 13 pages are especially important. How to start an LLC depends really on your state. Most states now you can just do it online. Here in Florida, just go to sunbiz.org, sunbiz.org. It's like $100. You just put in very, very basic information like your name, who's going to be the manager, like the positions, and you're done. Yeah, Atlanta, I believe you can just do it online. Some states, like I think Alabama, you have to like still mail some stuff away and get it back. But anyway, yeah, just check. Okay, know how to find motivated sellers, how to get this contract drafted up, how to get a buyer. Is there anything missing? No, not really. Some people just overcomplicate the process. If there's more to that question, you can add on to that. Analysis paralysis, man. You just got to get out there, fail forward. Yeah, just do it. Exactly. I mean, have a plan, know the basics, educate yourself, obviously, but then you just got to move forward. Got to fail forward. All right. Next question. And actually, this question I want to touch on is, Brenda, are you here? I know you said you were joining tonight anywhere. And I told you, I know you sent me some stuff. Okay. Can you wholesale mobile homes? I don't do mobile homes. I don't know people that do mobile homes. And mobile homes, again, can be a great investment, but primarily for, let's say, like landlords. I know Warren Buffett talks about mobile park homes and stuff like that. But most mobile homes, they're, first of all, those properties diminish in value very quickly. But a lot of them are on leased land. So basically the way you sell them is not, there's no title insurance. You don't take title to or anything. It's basically like selling a car. So same like selling a vehicle. So you could buy them and resell them, and I'm sure you could flip them, but it would be no different from flipping, I don't know, this book or flipping a boat or something like that. It's not going to be flipped the same way you do real estate. Now, some of these like manufactured houses and stuff, that's not the case. And the way you would know is to go to the property appraiser site and search the address. And if the physical address pops up there, you can see the chain of title and all that stuff, then those are deals that you could. But even that, like, we have those manufactured homes here in Florida, and even in the beginning, I looked into those and got some under contract, and I never flipped any of them. So I just kind of pushed that out of my. I'm not saying you can't, but I just stopped going after those properties altogether. And yeah, that's what I know about that. ARV, what about it? What does it stand for? ARV is after repaired value. Thank you. Basically, what would the property be worth if it were in perfect condition? All right, can I summarize the whole wholesaling process? Sure. In a nutshell, basically, you find a motivated seller or distressed property. You put it under contract, right? You basically say, I will buy this property for cash, right? And you sell it because you can close quickly. You'll buy it for cash. Then you're going to, that's the first piece. Then you're going to sell it to an investor, right? And there are two ways you can do that. The first is to assign it. Now, when you have the contract, right? That is a tangible asset. You have equitable interest in the property. So you can now sell that contract. You have exclusive rights and you're selling your rights. In that case, there's only one contract. The contract needs to say it's assignable. And then you go to your end buyer and you say, hey, I got this property. It's worth $100,000. I have it under contract for $60,000. I'll sell it to you for $70,000. So then they'll still make a profit, right? Because they're only paying $70,000. It's worth $100,000, right? And then you're making $10,000. If the contract's not assignable, the other way you do it is to double close. This happens with like a lot of REOs. Basically, you get the contract. You can't sell the contract. It says on the contract it's not assignable, meaning you can't sell it. You have to close. So you go to a transactional funder, which is basically someone who's going to give you a 24-hour loan. It's not based on credit or anything like that because it's contingent on you having the end buyer. So again, in this case, you got it under contract for $60,000. You go to the end buyer, you say, hey, I got this property, it's worth $100,000, I'm gonna sell it to you for $70,000. They'll say yes. Now the cool thing about the double close, the assignment, they know how much you make. The double close is actually two separate closings, so they don't know what you make, right? So you tell the transactional funder, you say, hey, this guy's gonna put up $70,000 for the property. Will you loan me $60,000? He says, sure, let me know when that end buyer puts up the $70,000. The end buyer puts up the $70,000, so that's in the bank, right? Or at the title company. Then your transactional funder will say, okay, cool, I know the money's there, so I can't possibly lose my money. That's why it's not based on credit. Then they'll fund your deal. So they'll send the $60,000 for the first deal. Then they take 1% generally of what they loaned you. So $600 in this case. Wait, what did I say? I'm losing my numbers, but they take 1%, right? Is what they're going to charge you. And then, so before, remember, you made the $10,000 spread. So again, it's still $10,000, but you're going to pay the closing costs on the first leg of the deal. It doesn't come out of your pocket. It just comes out of that $10,000 that your profit. And then that $600, they take that to pay the funder, and then you'll probably end up with like $7,000. But again, that can be really good because if you have a spread larger than $10,000, let's say $20,000, $30,000, then the buyer doesn't know how much you make. So I always recommend, if you're making more than $10,000 on a deal, that you do a double close. So hopefully that helps. And then again, to your question that you asked earlier, like, who would do this? Who would sell their property for like $60,000 that's worth $100,000? I'll give you an example real quick. I think I might have this on my website, but look, let's say somebody has a house that's worth $100,000, right? And I'll give you comps in 1 second. It's worth $100,000, right? And they paid off, let's say, half of it. They paid off $50,000, right? They still owe $50,000 to the bank, and maybe the husband, who was the breadwinner, he was the only one working, maybe he dies, right? So now they're, let's say, 3 months behind on a mortgage. Now, it's two options. The bank could foreclose on the house, take it, and that person has absolutely nothing. They got a foreclosure on their credit. They can't get any loans for 7 years or whatever, and they're just screwed altogether, right? Or you come along and say, hey, I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy things that I can make a profit on. You owe 50,000. How about I pay you 60,000? I can close this week, right? They'll say, yeah, sure. Like, get me out of this, this situation. So now they say, okay, 60,000, right? They pay the bank the 50 that they owe. Now they have $10,000. They can go downgrade, rent an apartment until they get themselves on their feet, right? So they're happy, they're good. Then you get this amazing deal that a property under contract for 60 that's going to sell, that's worth 100. You go to your end buyer, hey, I'll send this to you for 70. You make $10,000. You put up no money whatsoever. Now you're happy. Then the end buyer is paying 70 for a property worth 100. They essentially made like $30,000. Maybe they could put improvements into it, put it for even more, or they can rent it, hold it for long term. Maybe the value will appreciate, something like that. So they're happy. So basically what we're doing out here, when you hit the right, target markets, you're making a win-win-win situation. This is why you can't convince somebody to take a low offer. If they're not in that situation, it just doesn't make sense. All right. Renee, what's up? What's up? You find a lot of homes that are for sale by owner. Which would be better, to send out a contract to the listing agent or write a yellow letter to the owner? If it's for sale by owner, there should not be a listing agent involved. So you'd be contacting the owner directly. Anytime you can contact the owner directly, that's always going to be better, because you can negotiate and stuff like that. And a lot of times the listing agent doesn't make those decisions. They're just a gatekeeper, more or less, and a lot of them can be a pain in the ass. A lot of listing agents, they almost step on their own foot. It's like, dude, if you would just back off and let me do my thing, you probably make a lot more money. But never involve an agent if they're not already involved. So if it's for sale by owner, there should be a phone number there or an email there. You should talk to that person directly. There should be no agent involved. All right, so comps. So then with comps is, if you are buying as to hold it, or like a rehab or something, your comps absolutely have to be on point. Now for wholesaling, I find that too many people, too many students put way too much time and effort into this. Like we said earlier about that whole one-itis and only looking at one house, you should be looking at volume. So for the majority of my deals, I don't have my students use paid comps for most of them. If you wanted to do that, the site to use would be sitexdata.com, SITEXDATA.com. That site's good because you can differentiate between retail purchases that were made with a loan and then cash purchases, which not always but most likely means it was an investor, and those typically tend to be a little bit lower. Then you break these things down by the same subdivision. I think I have a video on it on my YouTube channel. Definitely have one in my, obviously, premium training stuff, but I think I might have one on YouTube. You break it down by the square footage. You also want to make sure it's the same build, and look to make sure everything's similar at least. It's not a science. Not everything will always be the same, but if it's concrete block, you want to compare it to concrete block. And then if one house is, let's say, 1,000 square feet and one's 1,500, you can't just compare them, but if they're similar, break it down to the price per square foot, and then you can look at it that way. That's how you can, be comparing apples to apples. But as far as comps, for the most part, and for most of your deals, just to get in that ballpark figure, you can go to these sites like Zillow. Don't use the Zestimate. That's often off. But you can go to, on the bottom right hand side, you'll see yellow dots. It'll say recently sold. Above that, it says for sale. That's listed. That means nothing. So you don't look at those. You want to look at the recently sold, and then click it, and then look at the map view. I got a video on this too. I can put it on the channel. And then you can look there and get a general ballpark figure. Also, there's a lot of different sites. RealFacts is one in Florida. That's something I pay for. It's my CRM, but I pull a lot of comps from there because you can view them by subdivision. It's not something you can do with like Zillow, for example, unless you drill down and look each one up. But a lot of times it's just common sense. You can look at Zillow, you can look at Trulia, you can look at all the free sites. Then if you go to the property appraiser site, every municipality, yeah, I'm messing up, but is a little bit different. But typically you can search nearby sales, and you can search them by subdivision. So that's another way you can do it. their sites. Find Comps Now, Bank of America, you can look on their site. Chase, you can look on their site. So my point is, if you really wanted to dig down, you can use a site like Sitex. But a lot of this stuff, especially with the listed stuff, is just it's common sense, you know. And again, you don't need to get it right perfectly when you get the contract. You just get in the ballpark. You get control first, and then if you need to renegotiate or get a price reduction or something like that, you can do that after the fact. All right. What do you say to people after a direct mail campaign when they call you and ask, how did you get my address? A lot of times I just tell them I'm an investor and I'm buying in the area. I just keep it simple, and then I start talking to them. I kind of have a script that I work from, and then I let people talk. You'd be surprised how much people like to talk, especially when you're motivated. Some of you guys, I'm seeing these comments. It's like you're spending time with people on the phone who have zero motivation. You're just completely wasting your time. Believe me, this is another sign, right? If somebody's motivated, they don't really give a fuck how you found them. They want to know if you could solve their problem. That's the shit that's important. If people are asking you, you know, too much of this stuff, you can handle it, you know, however kind of vibes with you. What you say is not as important as kind of the vibe you give off. You just let them know you're an investor, you're buying in the area, and then give them your whole spiel. But other than that, it's really not that important. It's one of those things people put more emphasis on than they really should or need to. All right. Talk about my first deal. How did I reinvest the money? Man, I don't remember. I remember being really happy. I think the biggest thing with the first deal, and it wasn't a lot. My first deal was maybe like $3,000. But I think the thing for me was that knowing it was real. You know, because in the beginning, everybody, oh, it's a scam. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, just the guy who's running the seminar is going to make the money, blah, blah, blah. And I heard it from people who cared about me and my family and all that stuff. And I always believed, but, you know, you kind of have that seed of doubt. And so the biggest thing is just I think a mindset to know, like, holy shit, this works. And my first deal was strictly hustle. It was just getting on the phone, and also just, for some of you who don't know the story, I basically was advertising another wholesaler's deals. That's why I tell you guys, get on every other wholesaler's list. It gives you insight into the market, so you can see what are other wholesalers getting, what are the hot areas, where are all the deals coming from, what are the price points. Then you can view, like, I take this shit seriously, man. You can put them all, line them all up. Okay, who's selling other people's deals? Which wholesalers are marking shit up, and who's got the original contract? And, you know, call them all. Okay, who's a cool person to work with? Who seems kind of shady? Who do I not want to work with? Okay, from this week to this week, which deals are still on the list? Meaning, which deals sold the fastest? Okay, so I see this zip code. Every time a property comes out, it's gone by, you know, this wholesaler drops a email Wednesday, Friday. Every time it's in this zip code, it's gone on Friday. So I should focus there. Oh, every time a property is in this price point, it sells. And that's, you know, instead of, oh, how do you, you know, run the comps and stuff like that, that's much more of a real look into the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? I gave the example yesterday. It's like, yo, if I get a house that's concrete block, 3-bedroom, over 1,000 square feet in Lake Worth, between you know, basically like under $100,000, it's sold. I don't need to look at comps. I don't need to look at all this stuff. I have buyers. I know I can sell it. You know, I know areas like 33064. That's a zip code, right? It's Pompano Beach area. There's a lot of demand there. It's a great neighborhood. Right next to that is 33069. Those are fucking crack houses. Like, people will buy it, but literally like a 2-block walk will decrease the prices, you know, by like 20-30 grand, maybe more than that, really. So it's just, you guys, part of knowing your market and doing your market research. I think I forgot the original question, so let me see. Oh, my first deal. So damn, I don't know how we got there from the first deal, but yeah, I definitely celebrated, and it wasn't much money, but also I know that I bought a probate list, and I did a direct mail campaign to them. Again, everything handwritten. Like, I did everything super budget, and it was a probate deal. And I met with the lady's, like, I don't know, nephew or something like that. I think he was a realtor, but he wasn't like listed. It was really weird. And I met him at the house, and my mentor said, you know, not to do that. And I probably shouldn't. And I recommend my students not do that. But I did that at the time. But yeah, it wasn't listed, but he just knew about real estate and stuff like that. But yeah, I got it done, and that was just one of those cases where you get lucky. Because that one, I think I got that deal off the first round of mailers. Might have been second, but I think it was the first. And that was like double what I made on the first one. So yeah, that's that. All right. My man Yang, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, Ace is back. Good to see you again. Pleasure. I think you've been here all week, so that's awesome. What do I think about Fresh Comps? Have I heard of it? It sounds familiar, but I haven't used them, so I don't know. Try it. What I would say is try it. But a lot of times, there's a way to get easy access to the MLS, which allows for comprehensive CMAs. You can become unlicensed assistant. Yeah, that's true. That's very much true. It's funny though, because 9 times out of 10, when a realtor sends me like a CMA, man, a lot of, they're not always on top. But also, you got to realize like everybody has a certain motivation. So if I'm trying to get a property at a discount and get it at the lowest price I can, that agent has a fiduciary responsibility to the seller to get the highest offer they can, and it's in their best interest to get the highest offer they can, so they get paid. So they're always somehow, I don't know if it's the software, right, but they always end up showing me these amazingly high comps. So just take it with a grain of salt. And indeed, I can't agree with that more. CMAs are an art and not a science. Anytime, even if you don't label it CMA, even if you're doing your own basic research to try to get in the ballpark, it is an art. And there are times where people come to me, even students, and they're like, Mike, there's no good comps. Like, what do I do? I'm like, fuck you want me to do? You want me to make comps? I can't make comps. They just don't. If they're not there, take your best guess. And then you know what you do? You look, maybe ideally, yeah, we want to be maybe within half mile. But yo, if we got to go outside a mile to try to figure it out, that's what we got to do. If the seller's asking a certain price, you can't ask 20% of it from the jump. Maybe because that's just common sense. It's not going to get accepted. So do your best. And then when you put it out to the marketplace will tell you what they pay for it. You put your inspection period in there. So that's the time you have to sell the deal. And then the marketplace will tell you if you have something under contract for 80 and you send it to buyers and you get on the phone with other wholesalers and you tell them, hey, just put it at 80. You don't even have to mark it up, man. I don't want to do one deal with you. I don't want to mess up your reputation with your buyers. I just want to do hundreds of deals with you, multiple deals. That's why I call some wholesalers and they say, add your shit on top. Add your fee on top. I don't work with those wholesalers. And here's why. Because if wholesaler A got a property for $100,000 and they tell me to advertise it at a markup and I send it to my buyers at 110, I've actually done that and sold it before. And there are people who do that with my deals. They mark them up and they keep whatever they put on top. I'm fine with that. That's cool. But I don't do it personally because the average person is smart. They're going to go to Google. They're going to type in the address. And then they see I'm asking 110. That other wholesaler probably has a Craigslist ad for 100. So then they're just going to go to the other wholesaler. That's not me doing me dirty. That's just being a smart buyer, right? So they're going to go to the other wholesaler. And not only will I not get that deal, but then I look like shit in the eyes of that buyer. So they're like, oh, he's just marking up these prices. I don't need to deal with him again. And a lot of times they might just unsubscribe from my list, right? So I don't want to do that to anybody else because I never look at anything as just doing one deal. So if I have another wholesaler, they're like, Mike, you want me to mark it up? I'm like, hey, if you think you could get it, like David's another wholesaler, man. He works with, I think, a lot of international buyers. So he's marked up a bunch of my deals and sold them. And there's been deals he marked up and he made more money on just his markup than I made on the deal. And I'm cool with that because he's a great guy and he does great business and he's fast and efficient. And I really enjoy working with him. But I always say, if you want to do that, you can do that. No problem. But you don't have to because I don't want you to work with me and that to negatively impact your business because I'm never looking at, hey, what could I make on this one deal? I'm looking at, hey, how can we have a great relationship where, I'm going to make an extra $5,000 on one deal? Fuck it. I'd rather have us do 10 deals together and then, I'd rather make 50% of those 10 deals than make 100% of the one deal. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, I forgot the original question, but that happens when you're talking to to me. Damn, it's almost 8 o'clock, guys. Let's see if I can get to a couple more of these questions. This is our last session of the week. I'll send you guys an email or announce it on one of these social media platforms what the schedule is going to be like for next week. I'm going to base some of that on the questions I get. So do email me your questions, mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. If people are in learning mode and they want to do some more learning, I'll be happy to be here as long as my schedule allows for it. But I do have some freedom in the schedule these days. And if people just want to take action, I might break it up into 3 days or something like that. So, Sandy, one thing I wanted to mention too, when I went through that process of describing wholesaling for you, there are also certain clauses that you want to put in your contracts, and we can talk more about this next time, or have videos on my YouTube channel and on my website, wholesalingwithmike.com, where you can see more of this in action. But you do have clauses in there that give you an exit. So worst case scenario, if you can't sell it, you can cancel the deal. A lot of times I recommend going back and just trying to renegotiate it first. But you can do it without any repercussions. You can get deposits back and stuff like that. Speaking on that, oh man, okay. There was some other stuff some questions that got sent to me I really wanted to touch on. I might have to answer them via email. So let's see if we got any live questions or anything like that. Does a wholesale closing take less time? Yeah, typically, because you don't have to deal with banks, you don't have to deal with appraisers, you don't have to deal with surveys, you don't have to deal with any of that shit. So it's basically just cash. Usually it's just as soon as the title work is done, you can close. Sometimes that's already done. Lien search, like in our area, it could take up to like 7 business days, but typically that's back in like 2 or 3 days. So it's very much realistic to close very quickly, probably like 2 deals or anything like that. Probate, yeah, probate's one of my go-tos. I do a lot of probate deals, but just know that they can take longer than some other deals, and that's not because of closing or anything like that, but just the whole probate process. And then also that's a mailing list. So again, you got people, they might not even live here a lot of times, and there's negotiators, other family members and stuff involved and going back on it. So that's that. The word on coaching, yeah, is that David? I think you sent me an email too. I'll get back to you on that. It's still open actually for everyone at this time. If you're interested in coaching, you can view all the details, what's involved there, at www.wholesalingwithmike.info. Brenda, work is busy. That's good. Do you don't see? Okay, you got Ironclad. You liked it. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the vote of confidence there. But yeah, there are a lot of stuff in there that have saved me money, saved me from getting into trouble, and also made me extra money. So that's definitely dope. Guys, I might run over. I think the Instagram stream shuts off. I think the YouTube might go a little longer or something like that. But there was a nice little comment that somebody left on one of the videos yesterday, and I want to call this some bitch out. All right. Reality real estate. Now, guys, I will be one of the first people to tell you I don't know it all, and I'm happy to do that. It keeps me, I think, always in a phase where I'm eager to learn. Nothing that I ever say and tell you guys can be taken as legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not qualified to give that advice. I'm also content to tell you that I'm not a licensed realtor. So a lot of times I can't give you these, certain things like the legal ramifications or requirements or whatever, right? But I do educate myself to the best of my ability. I'm also very well connected. I have my own attorney. I have realtors, stuff like that. And I'm always willing to engage in a conversation. If I don't know, I say, I don't know. Let me see what I can do or figure it out. That said, I'm pretty fucking competent with wholesaling. But this fine gentleman chose to leave a comment that says, any realtor by law needs to collect a $500 escrow deposit money. So you should not be misleading people, telling them that they can do it with no deposit money. Now, good sir, I really hope you watch this replay, because if you stopped at the first, your incorrect statement first off, that would be cool, and then we could just talk about it. But the fact that you would insinuate that I'm trying to mislead people, just more or less makes you kind of an asshole. So let's just talk about that for a second. So there's 2 parts to this. Number one, I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but realize that every state is different and is run by a different board. So there's no one rule for every realtor everywhere that I'm personally aware of, which is why if you have a New York State let's say license for real estate, you cannot come to Florida and practice real estate because the shit is fucking different. So let's start with that. Next, let's read from this is pertaining to Florida. I actually have the full statutes and all this shit pulled up because I'm OCD and I like to be right because I'm an asshole like that. But let me read some of this stuff for you, so guys, I'm not full of shit. A contract must, we're talking about consideration here. There's a lot here. You guys can go look this stuff up on your own, but I don't waste too much time. A contract must specify a sufficient consideration. Either valuable or good consideration may be sufficient. Valuable consideration is money or anything of value that can be converted to money. This includes cash, personal property, real property, or enforceable promises. So basically that's saying that no, there is not a monetary amount of $500. So before you accuse someone of misleading, you should probably check your own shit, and you might want to delete your comments or at least put up a fake picture so you don't look like a jackass. Next, earnest money deposits. The vendee customarily gives a binder deposit, also called earnest money, to show serious intent to buy property. However, money does not have to change hands for the purchase and sale contract to be valid. Enforceable promises have been made by both parties, which constitute valuable consideration. And then there goes on and on and on, right? So that's one part. Now, the other part that I kind of want to stress here, that's when we're talking law and legal and stuff like that. But the other piece of this that I want to stress is this is where, this is a person who maybe they meant well or whatever. And so, thanks, Renee. Like, I probably shouldn't hate that much. But again, this whole misleading thing really rubs me the wrong way because, I would never want to do that to anybody. But this is why many realtors come from the world of retail real estate, right? Where there's a certain way to do things and they only go by that, right? I come from the investor world, which basically means that, yeah, there's the way you're supposed to do things, and then there's the way that deals actually happen and get done. So the analogy I'll make is this. This dude is more or less saying, like, listen, when people get married, they say that they're going to be loyal and faithful forever. So cheating doesn't happen. It's like, yeah, you might say certain things, but I'm telling you from personal experience, even times where I put earnest money deposit on a contract, there were times where the realtor did not do, they're responsible to like make sure that's in, didn't do it, and I was able to do deals without putting earnest money deposit down. I actually did that, and I've done it on a number of occasions. So to tell me that it doesn't happen is bullshit. Also, there are creative ways to do it where you can have your end buyer put it up. There are land trust things. There's loopholes. There's all different things that we can do as investors, which is why this shit is called creative real estate investing. There's a lot of ways around it. There is also assignments. You can also have other people. You can also have green deposits, stuff like that. So there are a lot of different ways you can do this. And when I tell you you can do this stuff without putting earnest money deposits, you absolutely can. There are times where if you have the flexibility and the ability to put an earnest money deposit, you can do it. That'll help you to get more deals. And then, there's also creative ways where you can do it as well. And then you can also put earnest money as little as $10. So, I think I kind of made my point there. Maybe don't believe everything you read. I don't know. And also realize that there are a lot of and all the methods that I'm talking about, nothing of that is like illegal either. There's just different ways to do business. So, yeah, got a little passionate there, but I think it was more than warranted. So at this time, guys, we are after 8. I'm going to go ahead and thank you all for being here. Much appreciated. Pleasure as always, especially for those of you who have been here all week. Yo, Dave, I forgot to answer your question, brother. I'll answer in our private Facebook group in detail, but one of the things you were asking me about is submitting, I think, offers when you see the same property come up. You don't need to resubmit the contract or the offer, even if it's expired already. If you get it, at least a verbal, you can resubmit the contract or just initial the changes. But the main thing is that you got to be following up. You got to be calling and doing those follow-ups. I know that was short. I'll reach out to you and go into more depth and detail on that, and I probably can put that in our private mastermind group. But again, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed fun, amazing weekend. I'm gonna have some fun this weekend. I put in some good work this weekend, so this is gonna be fun. But if you're on your grind, man, grind it out, grind it out. Remember, short-term sacrifice for the long-term payoff and benefits. So thank you all for being here. Make sure you send me your questions, Mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. I'll be here Monday, same time, 7 p.m. And then on Monday, I'll let you know if we'll be able to do this every day next week, or if it'll be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. So please be here on Monday, 7 p.m. The more action you can take this weekend, the best. If you have questions for me about the action you're taking, I can answer you in real time. So hopefully that'll be even more beneficial to you, so then you can put it into practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and really start building up some momentum. I'm going to be off to Vegas soon, so I will not be able to keep doing these live sessions all the time. And I got, some stuff in life that I want to achieve, accomplish, all that good stuff. So take advantage. I'm here to help you all, again, in real time and help you out. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Send me those questions. If you're interested in any of the PDFs or stuff like that I mentioned, check out my website, wholesalingwithmike.com, and I will see you all on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for being here. Love you. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Peace. Call an Uber. Don't drink and drive. All right. Peace, folks.